Hi guys, I just wanted to check in with some midweek updates for the discussion that we're doing this week on your surprising reversal statements as part of your theses for the researched argument. Your thesis statements have already come a long way from last week, so that was really exciting for me to see that you took to heart the comments that I provided and the comments that you received from each other and the things you learned from that discussion, and then revised your thesis statements before you did work them into the surprising reversal structure as well for this week. So I appreciate the fact that you are all doing that kind of process work with your writing throughout this unit because it will help you be much more successful with your drafts overall. Um, Several of you were doing the surprising reversal structure in your thesis pretty much perfectly, and several of you still need some tweaks. And I really liked what I've already seen in the comments that you're providing to each other about ways to improve your thesis statements, but I'll try to clarify some things myself as well here. Okay, I did post a couple of comments throughout, so as you're posting, please take a look at what I had to say about how you can use dependent and independent clauses to attach the counterargument to your thesis in a way that will emphasize your argument while kind of downplaying the alternative point of view. So take a look at that, and then also I commented on just a couple of the threads as they were being posted earlier this week. So I pulled out some highlights of things that I thought you guys were doing particularly well, and then also some things I thought I could use as an opportunity to maybe clarify or offer some suggestions. I had commented in that post that I just referenced that you guys could take a look at Devin's original thread as a good example of how to attach the counterargument to the thesis in surprising reversal, and also then make that thesis comprehensive of all of your supporting points in addition to your central claim. So I just wanted to pull his out here again because I wanted to provide just a little more specific description of what I see happening here that's going to help him be successful in his argument. So he says, many people might believe that we should abolish capital punishment altogether. However, I think it should still be kept around because it provides closure, helps cut costs, sets an example, and there isn't the fear of escape. So there may be some nitpicky things here, some wording or some punctuation issues, but for the most part, in terms of doing everything that a thesis is supposed to do while also using that surprising reversal structure correctly, I thought this was a really good example. And that was cool to see because he's actually the very first person that posted. So I'm always curious to see if these concepts make sense to you guys or if it takes some bouncing back and forth of the ideas in the discussion before it all kind of gels. So I appreciated seeing that he was able to execute this correctly just based on the textbook reading for this week and then the lecture videos and things like that. So here we have his surprising reversal statement. Many people believe, or many people might believe, that we should abolish capital punishment altogether. So that is the counter argument because his proposal is that capital punishment should be kept around. So again, I'm just kind of questioning some of the wording here, but it's extremely nitpicky at this point. You know, typically in your thesis, you'd want to say directly capital punishment should remain legal, or even go even more specific into how you think it should remain legal. But for the most part, he says his proposal, he's got the counter argument to that proposal, and then in support of the proposal, he's mapped out his 1, 2, 3, 4 main supporting points to justify the solution that he's calling for with this overall proposal argument. So this is exactly what I'm looking for all of you to do if you have one of those really big glaring counter arguments that's going to be in your audience's mind right from the start, which remember is what we use surprising reversal for. Just a little bit of a recap. I do want to emphasize this again. Please don't forget to attach all of your supporting points to your central claim, either a proposal or an evaluation, in the basic thesis statement itself. And then that's what you can attach your counter argument to using this although statement or however, in addition to many people believe or many people might believe. So again, this was a successful example because it did all of those things. And then what Devin would have to do here in order to fulfill the promise he's basically making to his readers with this thesis is to then actually provide a paragraph right after the the introduction, where he presents this counter argument itself. So the fact that maybe we should abolish capital punishment altogether, because remember, you do need to follow your thesis in order for the most part, and so because this is the first thing in the thesis, it should be the first thing in the body of your essay. It also will allow you to kind of wallow in the complexity of this counter argument right up front in an entire paragraph devoted to it, and that is an excellent way to earn the trust and respect of your audience. If they can see that you're really devoted to exploring the alternative point of view first, they will be much more receptive to your ideas as you move forward after that. And then also what that does is it creates a structure in which you can basically use the rest of your argument to refute that big counter argument that you've addressed in the beginning. And so you don't even really need to worry too much about refuting it in that paragraph right after the intro. I would definitely connect it back to your points and your proposal or your evaluation as a way to kind of transition into your upcoming supporting points. But you don't need to entirely refute it right there, because you're basically going to spend the rest of your essay refuting it. So that's kind of the beauty of the surprising reversal structure. So when you're doing this, just don't forget that you would then need to present this in a paragraph right after the introduction, and then move through the rest of your thesis relatively in order. However, I do want to point out that whatever your overall central claim is, your proposal or your evaluation, that should come at the end of your discussion. So after your counter argument here, you would move into a paragraph discussing each of your supporting subpoints, boom, 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 in order, and then present your overall proposal more toward the end of your essay. So just keep that in mind. I also wanted to pull out an example here of one that I thought was definitely on the right track, but that I could use to show you guys how maybe just a little bit of revision or even a couple of small tweaks can kind of take your thesis to the next level. So here we have a student who said, in today's advancing economy, there are many conflicting options about what clean energy sources we should be using. But will things like natural gas instead of oil create something that is a long-term solution like solar, wind, and hydro? The reality is that natural gas would just be trading one evil for another. So one thing I want to point out about this example is that this is actually a question, the part that I've highlighted here. Will things like natural gas instead of oil create something that is a long-term solution like solar, wind, and hydro? And remember that your thesis should be not a question, but rather a statement. It should be the statement that is your answer to the research question that you started out with in the beginning. So I do think this person's on the right track in the sense that they're alluding to the controversy here and suggesting a counter argument, but there's a couple of things that this needs to do beyond what we see here. And one is to directly state the alternative position, and then also this person still has not directly stated their own position, even though there are a couple of supporting points here. They're not at this stage fully connected to that overall central claim. So we do have a reversal transition here, so we can kind of use this as the starting point of our thesis, because remember that transition is what connects the counter argument to your thesis. And it seems like this person is arguing against natural gas, more in favor of solar, wind, and hydroelectric power. So let's kind of reverse things here a little bit. We see this person makes a couple of points about why natural gas is not a good solution. So just trading one evil for another, I'm going to move that up here. And by asking this question, the writer here kind of invites multiple perspectives, but I'm going to make an assumption that the person is actually trying to lead toward an answer to this question that would be no, natural gas does not create a long-term solution. So I would just flip this around to be more of a statement than a question by saying and would not, is not, like solar, wind, and hydro. So, and then this reality statement is a good one that we want to save. So we'll move that up here. So, and then here, this isn't really direct enough for the counter argument itself. So in today's advancing economy, there are many conflicting options about what clean energy sources we should be using. I think this person is trying to set up their discussion in favor of solar, wind, and hydro directly in opposition to natural gas. And so in that case, natural gas would be the counter argument that you would want to use for your surprising reversal, not just generally all the conflicting options, but specifically natural gas. We could say natural gas seems like a clean energy source we should be using. Or you could follow the structure of what Devin has done up here and say, you know, many people believe or might believe that in today's advancing economy, natural gas seems like a clean energy source we should be using, but the reality is that natural gas would just be trading one evil for another, and natural gas is not a long-term solution like solar, wind, and hydro. Then we still need the central claim to which this would all be connected, which would be an actual proposal. So you could do an evaluation, but I think even if you have an evaluation here, something like solar, wind, and hydroelectric power are more renewable and therefore a better option or something like that, you would still, I think, be implying that there is some kind of action that should be taken based on this. So I would add that proposal directly here. Therefore, the United States should invest in renewable, like solar, wind, and instead of natural gas. And this would be a truly comprehensive thesis with the counterargument here, the subpoints here and here and here as to why natural gas is bad and renewables are good, and then the proposal itself to wrap everything up at the end. And so you can see here, it doesn't take a whole lot of changing to make something useful for your essay, but something like this is going to be a lot more effective in terms of giving you distinct goals for each of your body paragraphs than what we saw before. The other thing I'll point out, and I saw this in one of the comments that you wrote to each other, do try to avoid first-person pronouns in your arguments. That's something we'll see coming up again and again. But just for the level of formality of the writing situation that you're addressing, writing for an academic audience, it is more conventional to avoid first-person pronouns. Here we have an example. I just wanted to point out the importance of transitions. So this person says, there have been many claims that generations are becoming more violent due to the amount of violence in media that's out there. I believe it may matter on the viewer's personality and life experiences along with how the media content is presented. So we do have a counter argument. We do have 1, 2, 3 subpoints. I think this person is still leading toward a proposal that we would need to have attached here. But what I really wanted to address is the lack of transitions that we see connecting the counterargument to the claim. Because without those transitions, we really just have 2 statements here that the audience may not understand the relationship between. So for example, many claim that generations are becoming more violent. I believe it matters I believe it is more based on these 3 things. What is the connection between these 2 statements? Well, they certainly don't agree, but as a reader, I might start to feel confused here. Well, why is this person saying things that seem to contradict each other? So all you have to really do is add those transitions, that concession transition here. Many people might believe that there have been, and this person does say there have been many claims. It's just really your preference how you want to say that. So there have been many claims, and then here you would need then a reversal transition to actually show that this is not what I believe, but rather I'm going to disagree with that and present my thesis in the next statement to come. So something here like, however, I believe. So again, it may seem like those are little words that don't make a big difference within the overall sentence, but in actuality, it's going to help your reader understand the relationships between all of your different ideas. And then this last example I just wanted to pull out because I think it shows an instance of a thesis that does all the things that I've been talking about thus far. It has the central claim, the subpoints, and the surprising reversal counterargument. Although some people believe that homeschooling does not adequately prepare children for the social challenges they will inevitably face as adults. Parents should consider homeschooling as a viable option over traditional school, keeping in mind the advantages of more personalized attention a child can receive in a customized environment, the ability to spend more time on topics of interest, encouraging a passion,